What's going on, y'all? My name is Brian Waldron, aka Billionaire B, and in this video, I want to break down the 5 things to look for in an event space. A lot of times people who join Event Space Elites or who watch our YouTube videos, they are a bit curious in terms of like, all right, cool, I'm looking at all these different locations, but I'm not exactly sure what I should be looking for, what makes a good location, what makes a location a bad location. So I wanted to essentially break down the 5 things that I personally look for when I'm looking at an event space, and they might catch you a little off guard. They might not be what you think, but that's the purpose of this video, so that you really understand what goes through a CEO's mind, somebody who has been in this game for a long time, and what I actually look for. So let's get right into it. Number 1 should be pretty obvious, and it is size. Ideally, I like to look for 2,000 to 4,000 square feet when it comes down to my event space location. That is optimal. Typically with 2,000 to 4,000 square feet, you'll be able to hold between 100 and 150 people. It's the optimal size. The most common events have between 60 and 120 people. So if you have a space that can comfortably hold that much, you'll be in a great position. Some people get spaces that are smaller, like 1,500, 1,200 square feet. Now those are good for micro events, but the biggest thing you have to understand when you are getting a smaller location like that is that you will have to really go hard on rentals, decor, packages, things like that, just to make the same kind of money that somebody with a bigger location could potentially have. So that's one of the biggest things to keep in mind. The next thing when it comes down to size, pretty straightforward, but open floor plan. So when it comes down to an open floor plan, that means no crazy rooms, no crazy barriers, no crazy pillars walking all the way. Like one of our more popular locations, our Dumont and Blake location, did have pillars, but the way they were stationed around, it wasn't intrusive on the actual party. You know what I'm saying? Like pillars aren't bad. Like you can have the big beams. Every building has those big beams. You can have those big beams in your property. However, once it becomes intrusive, it has so many pillars that it's just intrusive. People are bumping into them all over the time. It's going to be a problem for your event space and to sell your event space. So if possible, I always like to have a nice open floor plan. So I like to have kind of like those big rectangular spaces. My second location, Ashford, was actually kind of like a trapezoid. Look at me knowing geometrics and whatnot, but it was kind of like a trapezoid, but it was cool. It was work. It doesn't have to be a big box. It doesn't have to be a rectangle. It doesn't have to be a long hallway. It just has to be an open floor plan, and it doesn't really matter anything else other than that. Once it's a nice open floor plan, people aren't stuck on top of each other. There's plenty of room to move around, kind of like number 1 when it comes down to size. You will be in a good position. So just to kind of recap, no crazy beams, no rooms all over the place. And that should basically take care of that. It's very, very straightforward. Like it doesn't have to be more complicated than that, which is why I said at the beginning of this video might surprise you. One of the biggest things, which I'll go towards the end of this video and break down, is that there's a number one thing that I look for in my event space, and I'll talk about it at the end of this video. Number 3 is location. Now, when it comes down to event spaces, everybody talks about location, location, location. Oh, I gotta be in a great location. This is why I don't believe in having a great location, or I don't believe that it's an actual thing. Number 1, my first location in Brooklyn was a basement. We didn't have any crazy street traffic. We had no street traffic whatsoever. Everything that we did, we marketed online digitally, completely online. So I know a lot of people who have great locations, but because of that great location, they're paying crazy amounts of rent. They are completely depending on the location, not doing any type of online marketing, and it's actually counterproductive. They actually don't make the kind of money that they thought they was gonna make, so they end up closing their venues. Like I've mentioned to y'all before, 40% of venues go out of business their first year. That's a scary number. That's almost 1 out of every 2. So with that being said, I highly recommend you reconsider what you think about location, because a lot of people think about, oh my God, I need parking, I need this, I need that. You really don't. I never, ever, ever had a location with parking, ever. Never had a location with parking. What does that tell you? If I could do millions of dollars in my event space with no parking, why the fuck do you think that you need all this parking, all this space, all this perfect location, all that stuff? It does not make sense. So, location, big X. Doesn't really matter. Now, what I will tell you with location is that you don't want to be someplace horribly outside the world, right? But one thing I will tell you is this. Event spaces, people are there for one night. People are there for one night, so they will travel. They will travel, which is why location, not the biggest deal. Of course you don't want to locate. It's always going to be a factor. It is real estate. You don't want someplace in the middle of nowhere. Granted, but it does not play as big of a role as you think because people will travel for a good deal, for a good spot for one night. People will travel, I'm telling you. Coming down to number 4, natural lighting. This is a really, really big thing for me. I love lighting and it really helps a lot with pictures. So when you do have an event space, one of the biggest things that I wish I had with my first location, Fulton, was a lot of lighting. However, it's not the biggest deal in the world. But if you can get it, I highly recommend you do get it. And the thing about it is that once you have a first floor and up, you're gonna have lighting because almost every space has windows. Unless you get a basement like how I had, then you won't have lighting because obviously it's a basement. But natural lighting is really, really good. It makes the place look bigger. So makes the place look bigger. Great for photos. Improves the ambiance. So with that being said, like lighting is definitely something I would always shoot for and always go for. If I had to put my dollars and deploy them into event space, I definitely would put them over here at lighting. And then last but not least, this is a really, really big one, but a friendly landlord. Now, a lot of people don't think about this when it comes down to your event space, but a landlord could really make or break your business. For example, during COVID, obviously everybody knew what happened with, and especially in New York, where literally nobody was allowed to operate. I really had to lean on my landlords to work out a few deals with us so that we can go ahead and survive that very, very, very disturbing time. For about 6 months, we were shut down, no revenue. We didn't want to take any chances or anything like that. But fortunately, I was able to work things out with my landlords and we were able to survive. We were able to make it through COVID. And without that happening, I definitely don't think that we would have been able to survive. I mean, we had a decent amount of savings. Like we definitely had a few months of savings, but to be no revenue, it's definitely tough. So a friendly landlord, shout out Park Management, shout out Loisos. But like really like having a good friendly landlord could really make or break your business. So I definitely make sure that I put that into a location simply because if you're going and you're meeting with these landlords prior to signing your lease and they're dicks, they're giving you the runaround, they're trying to screw you, trying to charge you for everything, it might not be the best working relationship for a 3, 5, or even 7-year lease. You know what I mean? So you really want to consider these things when it comes down to how you might be looking at a space and it might be the perfect location, things like that. But excuse me. But remember, this is somebody you have to essentially live with for the next 3, 5, or 7 years. You really want to take that into consideration when you're going about this business because they can make or break this. You know what I'm saying? So these are the 5 things that I look for in an event space, but one of the number 1 things that I want to bring to your attention is that none of this stuff matters if you do not know how to market. None of this stuff matters if you do not know how to market. You can have a great size, a great open floor plan, perfect location, beautiful natural lighting, and the most amazing landlord in the world, but if you do not know how to market your space, you will flatline. You will be a fish in the water dead because you don't know how to market. One of the number one things that is the cause and reason for so many event spaces going out of business, people losing thousands upon thousands of dollars, is simply because they don't know how to market. They think they're gonna open up their doors and people are just gonna run through, and it doesn't always work that way. It does not always work that way. One of the biggest things to understand is you must know how to market. I have a few YouTube videos on the topic in terms of different strategies and whatnot that we use to market our venues. However, one of the biggest things that we do in Event Space Elite and Scale Your Venue is we actually put a lead generation system into your business. So once you graduate Event Space Elite, you get your venue, we actually run the ads for you in our Scale Your Venue Lead Accelerator program so that you don't have to worry about marketing, you don't have to worry about leads, you don't have to worry about going crazy in your event space because you're not getting leads. One of the biggest things is that we take care of that marketing for you so that you don't have to worry about it. So again, guys, I'm gonna drop the link in the description to apply for Event Space Elites, as well as if you do wanna work with the Scale Your Venue Lead Accelerator, I'll drop the link there as well. And in the meantime, in between time, I hope this video was super helpful. Talk to y'all soon.